We're here with Nanette Sawyer, and we're at Wicker Park Grace Church. Yeah, and we just enjoyed the service. Thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome. Yeah, great to have you visiting.
Yeah.
We love to welcome people here.
Absolutely. Well, an interesting integration of the arts and spiritual practices, and we're even out here now at the garden. Tell me a little bit about the project here.
We just started an organic garden this year. We inherited this setup from the Arts Council, which used to be here in prior years, and they started these organic beds. So we saw this as a great opportunity to build community, to have a community garden, to learn about gardening. And you know, urban agriculture is something we need to think about a little bit more. Like, where does our food come from? You know?
Yeah.
So we're learning and having community at the same time.
Well, this is my first time here, but immediately I had this sense of hospitality, connection, and love and care, and people were greeting and everything else. And but your gig is hospitality too, so this isn't something that just it actually happens kind of naturally. So tell me a little bit more about your theories on it.
Yeah, you know, I never thought I would write a book about hospitality, but apparently someone mentioned my name to a publisher who wanted a book on hospitality, and I thought, oh my goodness, now I have to think about what it is I'm doing and find a way to talk about it. So what I came up with was thinking about all the different realms in which we extend hospitality, but I thought it really begins at our core, you know, where we extend hospitality to God, inviting God to really encounter the true, deep, authentic self. And in that deep connection, that relationship is where we get a sense of empowerment, a sense of fullness, a sense of love that makes it possible for us to go and be people of hospitality in an ongoing way. And from there, if we have that core relationship, we can begin to extend hospitality to people we're intimate with, and then further out to neighbors, to strangers, even enemies, and to creation itself, which is sort of the largest circle, but in a way brings us back to God because it's God's creation. So it's this interesting cycle of life. Cycle of hospitality.
Yeah, exactly.
We hope that people who come and participate at Wicker Park Grace will actually be transformed, that their lives will begin to take on a different shape. And that happens through the spiritual practices, the prayer, the encounter with God, with the holy, but also it happens through the encounter with each other and the relationships that begin to build. And so we try to think about that most explicitly and support each other in becoming people of hospitality in our lives, and people of justice too. So there's a lot of concern about social justice here. We have done educational series on immigration and care for our neighbors, different things like that.
Now, someone might watch this and go, oh, hey, look, that's how they do the Tizay. Oh, look, here's how they do a garden. Oh, look, here they've integrated arts. And it gets tacked on rather than it being kind of authentic to their experience. Any advice or thoughts, and maybe even some tricks, or I wish we would have thought this through?
That is such a great question, because I've had people who get excited about what we're doing here and they say, well, I don't have those gifts and skills, and we don't have artists, and how could we do this? And for a long time that really stumped me. I didn't know what to say. But now what I would say is, find what your gifts are and begin there, because that's what makes it authentic, you know? So I have a bit of a contemplative spirit, so a lot of our worship ends up being quite contemplative. We bring in the Tizay chanting and candles. I'm a bit of an artist, you know, so I have found ways to integrate that in the kind of leadership that I provide, and I would say, you know, everybody should try to be themselves, their best selves, and that's what I'm going to keep trying to do.
But then also I think that idea of inviting people, I noticed Tim had some paintings here, whatever.
Yes.
It's not just necessarily here's the only ways you can give.
Absolutely, yeah. So Tim is a fantastic oil painter, and he brought his art here and did what's called a studio sale to sell some of his artwork to give the proceeds to Wicker Park Grace. And that's his way of offering his best self, his painter self.
Yeah.
And we're encouraging everybody to be creative in those ways, to figure out what it is that they have, that they love, so they can share their love with the community.
Well, and that might lead into that idea, the hospitality to the stranger.
Yes.
Any thoughts or ideas, as you've done so much work on this and played with it, what thoughts come to mind?
That's really good. Because I wrote about hospitality as a spiritual practice, I really tried to get at the core experience of hospitality. And so in terms of strangers, I thought, what makes a stranger a stranger? And some of it is our sense of difference from them. Sometimes we see people, we think, but we don't really see them because we're not seeing their humanity and what it is that we have in common. So I try to think about, how does kinship overcome estrangement? Rather than being estranged, how do we build kinship? Be like relatedness. So our kin are our family members. So I'm talking about a bigger sense of the family of creation, so that we are related to people even who differ from us. So what is that kinship? What is that connection, the family connection with other human beings that we have? And how do we reach to that? Some of that has to do with the in with and out flow of hospitality that I've thought about, where that inward practice of hospitality would be kind of preparing ourselves to be receptive beings, to have an openness, a receptivity. And then the with is when we truly encounter someone, a kind of reverence rises up between us. There's a respect that happens when we're truly with someone else's humanity. And then the out would be generosity. So that when we have that kind of reverent exchange that is rooted in a receptivity and openness in us, then we would feel inspired to be generous. And we'd be tapping into that God self deep well of love. So not depleting ourselves, but sharing this bigger love, respect, honor, reverence with people that we encounter, even those who might seem to be strangers. It's not easy. I'm describing it like it's easy, but it's not really.
But the depth of thought that you've placed into it, especially the otherness, the stranger as the one, because difference has always been something that's been difficult, it seems, at least within my lifetime and within Christianity. Different has always been bad.
And scary.
It's almost like clean up and come to church, or fix your life and come to church. And it seems as if the mission or message or kingdom that Jesus spoke of was always embracing the different. I mean, that was almost the subversiveness of his message that got him in trouble with the religious leaders at the time. So, play with that a little
that's
bit.
great. I'm just thinking about it in terms of welcoming the people who come through the door here, and there's really not a pressure for us to achieve sameness of look or sameness of thought or belief. And that's really important in the authentic welcome, that we create a space here which we think about it as having a center but not a boundary. So we have something that we have at the center, this life, this love, this grace of God that we are walking towards, and we invite other people to enter that space. But it's not, you have to believe these things to be an insider. It's not that you have to look a certain way to be an insider. It's everybody's welcome to be on this journey together. The yoga class could be a door into the community in a way. The art gallery, the art show could be a door into the community, because it gives us a chance to meet people and be friends, get to know what's happening in their life, who are they. And that is why I put a lot of emphasis on God and the self, like the authentic self meeting, and there being love and grace in that place. That's then what I want to share, and that's where I think the heart of hospitality comes from, that belovedness. So, the process of believing it is long, and I've had to try to learn how to be a pastor in new ways too. Like, how do I then embody that in community? And but I think that you're beloved.
Yeah.
That's a core thing.
I love that. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
You're
you're
beautiful
very
sharing
welcome.
with you.